Good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson Tonight. Auntie Maxine is at it again because she never stopped. Congresswoman Maxine Waters of California was honored recently at the Glamour's Women of the Year Awards show. You didn't get an invite. And at that event, she decided to whip the crowd into a demagogic frenzy. Here's a selection.
For those who say to me, you are asking for something too soon and too early, be careful. Don't jeopardize yourself. Don't say what you're saying right now, but I continue to say, impeach him! Impeach 45! Impeach 45! I didn't hear you, impeach 45! Thank you!
Oh, the ruling class loves it. Not surprised, though. Statements like this fit into a long pattern for Maxine Waters, from cheering on race riots in Los Angeles 25 years ago to praising the Fidel Castro regime in Cuba. We've got some recent highlights from Maxine Waters. Here are a few.
Certainly the inauguration is a way of welcoming in someone to the presidency and honoring them and respecting them. I don't honor him, I don't respect him, and I don't want to be involved with it. I'm questioning the patriotism of all of those Republicans who are allowing this president to side with Putin.
I think that Jeff Sessions is very dangerous. I think he's a racist.
This is a bunch of scumbags. That's what they are.
Mark Stein is a writer and a columnist and a connoisseur of this kind of stuff, and he joins us tonight. Mark, it's great to see you in the studio.
Hey, good to be with you, and congratulations on the start of your second year.
Well, thank you very much. So you're in Washington, D.C., now the most Democratic city in America.
That's right.
I think it was 91% for Hillary. I know a lot of the Democrats. Some of them are kind of smart and impressive, and some of them are good people. Maxine Waters is the least impressive by far, the most corrupt, the least knowledgeable, the most extreme, the shallowest.
Yeah.
How did she wind up the folk hero?
Yeah, I don't get that because, as you say, she's one of those, I mean, obviously Democratic Party politics is not yet quite as lucrative as it is, say, in Zimbabwe, but she is one of those people who's been in full-time public service and has managed to do very nicely out of it. I'm not sure what other people get out of it. I mean, she's shouting impeach 45. Okay, you have to be a congressman to file articles of impeachment. That's you. We can't do it. We can sing along, but we can't actually do it. So go ahead, punk, make my day.
So what scares me, though, is if Republicans on the Hill continue to not deliver anything,
right,
I think it's possible they lose. In fact, it may be likely that they lose control of the House, at which point they've said they're going to impeach the president. They probably will. So then you have Democrats in control. Does it worry you that these are not reasonable people? This is a group that considers Maxine Waters a hero.
Yeah, no, I think that's actually serious. And I think at some point people have to actually, you know, call their bluff, because the other guy, Al Green, is threatening impeachment to file articles of impeachment before Christmas. I think somebody else has said they're going to do it before Thanksgiving. I don't know that there's a public holiday between now and Thanksgiving, but if there's St. Ethelred the Incontinence holiday coming up between now and then, someone will fight. Go ahead.
Well, they actually did it today, I believe.
Really?
That's exactly right. Put forward articles of impeachment. I mean, it's toothless, but I just wonder how many people in the resistance have thought through what does it mean if these people take control? Even if you don't like Trump, you really want to put Maxine Waters in control of something?
Well, no, exactly. And the point here is that, you know, you can only push things to extremes so far before it's a 50-50 nation, give or take, and a tiny number of people in a handful of states decide national elections and who controls the White House and who controls the legislature. And so if you push politics to the extreme at both ends, you actually make politics impossible. You make it impossible to have a functioning legislature. legislature. And you put yourself in a situation, as we see, where tiny little things like one Senate seat or a couple of House seats actually render government totally non-functioning. And the dysfunctionalism of the political process is what led to Trump. So go ahead and make it more dysfunctional. See where it gets you.
But you just think, so if your critique of Trump, if your complaint with Trump is he's emotionally incontinent, he's irresponsible, he tweets too much, he doesn't behave in a dignified way, and they're always saying that, I get it, then why wouldn't your response be to be the responsible person?
Right.
But they're doing the opposite.
Right, exactly. I mean, the thing about it is they're not actually, tweeting isn't grounds for impeachment. There's no tweeting amendment to the United States Constitution saying that tweeting, you'd have to pass a tweeting amendment. She'd have to get 2/3 of the state to sign on to the tweeting amendment. And there might be grounds for a tweeting amendment. It might be a great cause to say that if you run for national office, you have to give up your Twitter feed. It might be something Maxine could get on board with. But as things stand, the fact that she's good at chance doesn't lead to the end of the Trump presidency.
Do you find it odd that the leadership of the Democratic Party, the party of the young, is elderly, to put it mildly? I mean, Joe Biden is now saying, he's deeply considering running for president, which would be hilarious for him to do it again. He ran 30 years ago, as you remember, in '88. He, upon inauguration, if he were to be elected, would be older than Reagan was when he retired after 2 terms. How ironic that the young party is so old. Why is that?
You're looking at it the wrong way, Tucker. I mentioned Zimbabwe a moment ago. Robert Mugabe is 93.
Yes.
And they only put him under house arrest today. So if you're Biden or Bernie or Hillary or Nancy Pelosi or Elizabeth Warren, you're thinking, well, look at old Bob over in Harare. I've got another 2 decades before they put me under house arrest. As far as they look at it.
So by the Mugabe standard, they're just getting started.
Yeah, that's right. And actually, I think, taking this seriously, Bernie Sanders is an old crazy guy, but he was a romance for the young. And the problem for me with these people is not that they're, one of the things that makes politics dysfunctional, particularly in Washington, is that everyone is mired in 1930s social programs that are actually irrelevant to every social indicator of the early 21st century. Well, who are the people likely to be most attached to those 1930s social programs? People who were, in kindergarten when they were still fresh.
That is a deep point. I wish we had more time to explore it. Thank you, Mark Stein.
Thanks a lot, Tucker.
Stay in Washington.
Yeah. I may move in here.
We'd love that. Robert Zimmerman is a Democratic National Committeeman, and he joins us tonight. Mr. Zimmerman, thanks for coming on.
Good to be with you, Tucker.
Before I ask you about Maxine Waters, the future of your party, let me ask you about news we have from Capitol Hill tonight. So Glenn Simpson, who runs Fusion GPS, he's the former reporter who commissioned the dossier that undergirds a lot of this Russia investigation, spent 7 hours talking to House investigators yesterday and conceded, apparently, we're reporting during that testimony, that the dossier was comprised of rumors that he never really checked out. He never traced them to their sources. He never traveled to Russia. They were just things that he heard and threw them in the dossier, which was then disseminated throughout the media and the Democratic Party, often the same thing, and became the basis for the insanity of the last year. Does that bother you, that rumors are the core of this?
Well, actually, Tucker, what bothers me is your partisan spin, because the reality is, according to the Washington Post fact checker, the only one who printed any information from the dossier before the election was Mother Jones. The other media, of course, and it's the media's job to check out these reports. So the reality here is, the right wing is trying to spin that Russia was trying to help Hillary. Let me finish my point, Tucker.
Wait a second. Let me correct a factual error.
Let me bring up some
facts. And I don't mean in any way to contradict the Washington Post fine reporting, but didn't BuzzFeed run the entire thing?
Not before the election.
Dossier?
Not according to the Washington Post fact checker.
I'm not saying before or after the election. I'm not talking about the Washington Post so-called fact checkers. I'm just, as a factual matter, as a news reader, I believe I read the whole thing presented as news in BuzzFeed, and then in virtually every other publication in America.
No matter how you want to spin the facts, the reality is nothing was printed according to the Washington Post fact checker by the media before the election, except in Mother Jones. But here's the point: it's up to the media to do. Excuse me, it's up to the media.
I'm not making that case. I'm not saying. Hold on. I'm not saying Trump lost lost the popular vote because of the dossier. I'm saying that we have a Russia investigation ongoing for the last year.
Right.
And that the FBI took this dossier. They may have actually paid the source of the dossier. We don't know for sure. We're going to find out. But
that's
we know that
false rumor to spread. Maybe you should know it before you tell everybody that perhaps it's a possibility.
No, that's actually been reported. I don't know if it's true or not. And
you
I'm trying to be as honest as I can
for
be.
Your news.
Here's the truth, Robert. Slow down a little bit.
I'm fine.
We know for a fact that the dossier is one of the reasons there was a Justice Department investigation into Russia's meddling in the election in the first place. And so I'm asking you a factual question. So put aside your lunatic hat for a second and answer me straight. Does it bother you that the guy who wrote the dossier didn't check out any of the so-called facts in there?
We don't know what you're reporting is accurate. We do know that Bob Mueller.
He said on the Hill yesterday.
Excuse me. We do know that Bob Mueller, who is a war hero, a Republican, and was appointed by the Deputy Attorney General to conduct this investigation, is running a very thorough and fair investigation, and the Republican leadership in Congress is conducting an investigation based upon the facts. So I think before you start spinning your rumors and theories, I think we should let it be to the professionals to do the evaluations.
Slow down. This is information derived from the investigation you just referred to. Listen carefully. This is coming off the Hill yesterday. Glenn Simpson, head of this company, sat for 7 hours, and this is what he said. The investigation to which you just favorably referred produced this set of facts, and I'm for the 5th time trying to get your response to this set of facts. And are you going to respond or not?
I'm not going to respond to your theories and gossip.
It's not a theory. That's what he said.
I'm going to simply leave the investigation to the professionals,
but this
both the Republican leadership in Congress and the special counsel.
I don't know if this is your native language. Let me speak slowly. This is the investigation. This is what we just learned, and I'm hitting you with new facts that come from congressional investigators, Republican and Democrat, and I want to know if you think it's okay that this stuff turned out to be unverified crap. That's what they just found in the investigation you're lauding.
Tucker, I'll try to use smaller words for you. The bottom line here is you're repeating news reports that are not substantiated, and you, as opposed to letting the investigators make the reports and let Congress do their investigation.
Wow. Okay, we're off in performance art now. Okay, let me ask you a political question. Maybe you'll do better with that.
Maybe you'll use some facts this time.
Maybe you will. I'm starting to have my doubts. Do you think that it is wise politics, apart from wise policies, is it good for the Democratic Party, which seems to be ascendant, did really well in those elections last week in Virginia and New Jersey, to lead with impeachment? The last time a party tried this was, of course, the Republican Party in '99. They impeached the president in '98, and in that midterm elections, they got pounded for doing it. Do you think it's smart for Democrats to have as their publicist, Maxine Waters, running around talking about impeachment? Is that a wise thing? Are you happy about that?
Let me just correct you on a fact, Tucker. The last time the Republican Party led with this was when Republican members of Congress advocated impeaching President Obama over his birth certificate. And many Republican members of Congress did that. You don't have the Democratic Party leading with impeachment.
Well, hold on. Which Republican member said he ought to be impeached over his birth
Congressman
certificate?
Blake Farenthold did.
He said he ought to be impeached because of his birth certificate?
It's called fact-checking, Tucker. I'm glad I got...
1 out of 435. I don't even remember. Was there another one? You said there was more than one.
Do I have to give you an exercise on how to use Google? You can easily check the facts on your own. Hopefully your viewers will, too, and not accept your spin.
I mean, that's just too stupid.
But the point is, Maxine Waters is not leading the Democratic Party in this issue.
Really? Because articles of impeachment were filed today in the House. Are you aware of that? Are you paying attention?
I'm well aware of it, but that does not represent the advocacy of the Democratic leadership. But
what do you think of it? How's this? Here's my question. What do you think of it?
What it does tell me is that Republican investigations that are going on and the special counsel's investigations demonstrate that they're giving her good material to work with.
Why don't you just answer a question straightforwardly?
Why don't you give me some facts for the discussion?
Look, just answer the question. So you had Steve Cohen from Memphis just today said and filed it officially the president ought to be impeached. I'm not saying that Pelosi told him to say that. She probably is against it. But there's a movement, and there are a bunch of guys doing that, Brad Sherman among them. What do you think of that? Is that smart politics? Don't give me a stupid hack answer. Just give me a real answer. Is that a good idea or not?
I'm giving you facts, Tucker. You deal with it or not. The point simply is this. Because of the fact that Donald Trump Jr. and Jared Kushner and General Flynn and so many others keep changing their stories because of the indictments, there's real discussion here about what these investigations will lead to. Right now, the Democratic leadership's not advocating impeachment. And in fact, we have to let more facts come out.
You just had it filed today. Are you not going to say whether you think that's a good idea or not? I mean, you're making me nervous because I think that there's a good chance Democrats could take over the House in the next election. And if they're going to have people like you speaking for them and making their strategy, I'm actually really concerned. Why don't you just give me an adult answer and respond to what the news today?
Facts, Tucker.
I'm not making it up. It just happened.
I know that it happened, Tucker, but the reality is the Democratic Party is not moving towards impeachment. Members of Congress are advocating it. And frankly, the fact that the Trump administration keeps getting caught in one lie after another gives good material for them to talk about.
He's driven you guys crazy. He's driven you guys crazy. Wow. You make me nervous in this interview.
Together,
no,
Tucker.
I'm serious. You make me nervous. Thank you, Robert. Roy Moore and countless Hollywood celebrities are being brought down by sexual misconduct allegations. We've seen this before, but the last time a famous person was accused of sexual harassment, about 20 years ago, he was protected by many of the people making these allegations now. The feminist machine, one writer calls it. We'll go through the details on that coming up next. Well, this Roy Moore story continues. He's, of course, the Alabama Senate candidate. He is now refusing to back down under rising condemnation from his own party. Just minutes ago, a report of still more women coming forward with allegations against him. Trace Gallagher is here with the latest. Hey, Trace.
Hi, Tucker. The number is now 7 women who have now come forward to accuse Republican Senate candidate Roy Moore of sexual misconduct. One of them is Beverly Young Nelson, who alleges Roy Moore attempted to rape her when she was 16. The woman also tried to prove she had contact with Moore back in 1977 by showing her yearbook that he allegedly signed. But Moore's attorney is now calling for a handwriting expert. Watch.
Right now, Trent Garman, our attorney, has sent a letter, or is sending a letter, to Gloria Allred demanding that the yearbook be released. We'll send it to a neutral custodian who'll keep chain of custody, and our professional expert will examine it, and we'll find out, is it genuine or is it a fraud?
Gloria Allred says her client will testify under oath. Meantime, Ivanka Trump appears to be firmly against Roy Moore, issuing a statement that reads, and I'm quoting, "There is a special place in hell for people who prey on children. I've yet to see a valid explanation, and I have no reason to doubt the victims' accounts." Ivanka's father apparently has a different take. Today, the president dodged questions about whether he thinks Moore should drop out of the race. That is despite a report in Politico that says Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell called the president while he was overseas asking for help in pushing Moore out. McConnell says if Moore wins on December 12th and is sworn into the Senate, he would face an immediate investigation by the Ethics Committee that could lead to expulsion. But Roy Moore is showing no sign of dropping out. In fact, he appears to be digging in, including threatening legal action against media outlets that have published allegations of sexual misconduct. Roy Moore is currently trailing in the polls by 12 points, a big drop since before the allegations when he led the Democrat Doug Jones by 9 points. Tucker.
Trace Gallagher out on the West Coast. Thanks, Trace. Well, the rising condemnation of Moore and numerous Hollywood celebrities has many people asking where this outrage was 20 years ago. Bill Clinton was the president then. A ton of people hit him with sexual misconduct allegations. A lot of them seemed believable then and now. Clinton survived in a big way because Democrats and feminists rallied to his defense. Juanita Broaddrick accused him, so did Paula Jones. But they were dismissed as bimbos and floozies and liars and losers and secret right-wingers, which they weren't. While Bill Clinton was defended as a supporter of feminist causes, especially of abortion. Christy Setzer is a feminist and president of New Heights Communication, and she joins us tonight. So you're not going to hear me say, Christy, that only liberals sexually harass or only conservatives. It's a sin's a human problem. Mm-hmm. But the difference is, so Roy Moore is accused of this stuff. I don't know the truth of it, but I know a lot of Republicans, including the president's daughter, are attacking him, like flat out attacking him, and some are defending him. When Bill Clinton got accused 20 years ago, in I think a much more credible way, of much worse things, including forcible rape, he was defended in the New York Times by Gloria Steinem and the entire feminist establishment. And that seems a meaningful difference to me. And I wonder if, in retrospect, that's regrettable.
I do think it is regrettable. I think that when you look back at what happened 25 years ago with the hindsight that we have now, and particularly this national collective moment that we're having where women are coming out of the woodworks to finally be able to tell their stories of being sexually harassed, sexually assaulted, being even raped, I I think that we would see his story and his behavior towards women a lot differently than we did at the time. But again, we have this benefit of seeing it in a different moment.
Because I'm pretty old, and so I remember it really well. That was 30 years after the feminist revolution. That was after we got like a 2-year-long lecture about sexual harassment with Anita Hill and Clarence Thomas, where no physical contact was even alleged. People were exquisitely sensitive about it then. The no means no thing. I was in college, 10 years before. I remember it really well. That's not why he got a pass. He got a pass because he vetoed 2 partial birth abortion bills.
Yeah, and I think it was also 25 years ago. I mean, look, I really do think that there is a very big difference right now. You have Mitch McConnell coming out and saying, I believe these women about Roy Moore. And that's not something that you would have seen, I want to say, even a year ago, 5 years ago, right? If there's going to be a difference, I think it's that there are still people who rally around these Republicans who have committed multiple probably have been accused of multiple sexual assaults, right? Donald Trump is the president. Roy Moore is still his party's nominee. You look at a more contemporary example on the Democratic side, like let's say Anthony Weiner. He's in jail.
Well, I don't know. Ted Kennedy, the Lion of the Senate, killed a woman and left her to drown in a car. No one disputes that. He was drunk driving. He went off the bridge. He never even reported it, okay? When he died, it was only 2009. Huffington Post ran the story, quote, why Ted Kennedy, what would Mary Jo Kopechne, the woman he killed, have thought of Ted's career? Answer, maybe she'd feel it was worth it. That was 2009. HuffPost making the case.
Talking about an incident that was happening in, what, the 60s? I mean, again, we're talking about a very different time.
He killed a woman and served until 2009. That whole period, he got adulation from feminists because he was for abortion, and they ignored the fact that he actually killed somebody.
Roy Moore is on the ballot today in 2017, right? So I think we can go back and we can talk about how people did bad things.
This was the other day. It was Ted Kennedy.
Yes.
Look, my only point is, and I think, and I said it last night in the show, I think there are people who are willing to make excuses for Moore for political reasons. I just think that's wrong. Sure. I do. I think you should assess things on the facts, okay? Yeah. I'm accused of something. Don't tell me some of that. I don't want my kids to get away with that crap. Just answer the question, right?
Right.
But I'm just saying, we've got a decades-long history of the left putting politics ahead of women. And, I don't want to have to pretend that's okay, because it's not okay.
It's not okay, and it's not okay when the right does it as well. And I think that we should be able to have an honest adult conversation about the fact that right now sexual harassment and sexual assault are pervasive in America, that women have been hurt by it for a very long time and continue to be.
There are a ton of men.
And many men as well. Absolutely. Right. And many men as well.
So why do we have anything in America named after Ted Kennedy?
Really? That's
no, it's a sincere question. I don't know why. I mean, Harvey Weinstein's name has been stripped out of, whatever the Directors Guild or no. It's a sincere question. You kill someone, a woman who you're taking advantage of. Do you get to have your name on things now?
I think that you are seeing men face very different consequences today than they did even 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago for the same sorts of behavior. And I think that's a great thing for women, right? I think that it is a hugely positive step that now women feel comfortable to say, I expect better behavior from my politicians, from my boss, from my friends. And again, I think that's something where Democrats and Republicans are certainly guilty of this behavior and can come together and have an honest
last question. I mean, you obviously, I'm sure, believe in due process. This is not quite related, but I keep thinking about it recently.
Sure.
Is it okay to anonymously accuse someone of a crime? Any crime? Is it fair for me to say, you've been accused of bank robbery? I'm not going to say which bank is accusing you.
Are you talking specifically when it?
I'm saying you read these cases where people are accused anonymously of things.
Right.
And it just seems like that's not what justice is. Justice is getting to face your accuser and account for what you're accused of doing.
But that hasn't happened here. I mean, for example.
No, it hasn't. But you've seen it in the last couple of months. Is that okay with you? I'm just wondering.
I think that you need to look at the reason why someone would accuse someone anonymously. It would probably be because they are afraid of the retribution that they might face in coming
Why would a media...
publicly.
Okay, I get it. I actually understand that. But why would a media company print the name of the accused but not of the accuser before it's even gone to court? We don't know actually what happened, but we're basically declaring one person guilty and shielding the other from public view. Why would we do that?
Again, are we talking about Roy Moore?
No, I'm not talking about Roy Moore.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. But there are a lot of people to whom this is happening. Is that okay with you?
expect, and you are a media person, so I think you know how stories, when they get to print, there's a fairly extensive process by which reputable news organizations go through before they actually put something
I've been in this
print.
too long. The reputable ones are the most corrupt. I've seen it firsthand. Christy, thank you for that.
Thank you.
Good to see you.